Last month, my reselling business took a significant downturn. On Poshmark, on eBay, on Mercari, all the platforms, sales were down by quite a bit. I do know why it happened. Some of those things were under my control, some were not, but we're going to talk about all that later on in the video. For now, let's focus on what did go well this month, because even though the overall month sales were pretty bad, I did have some high price selling items and also some great items that sold really quickly. Starting off with the high price sales, I'll start with the lowest and end with the highest price sale of the month. First up, we have a Poshmark sale, and it was these Matisse knee-high suede equestrian riding boots. They sold for a total of $42. After fees, my earnings was $33.60, and these boots took a total of 16 days to sell. Matisse is a brand I spoke about in my most recent thrift haul. There's Matisse and Coconuts by Matisse. Most of their boots are more Western style looking, and they're a lot more affordable than other Western boot brands. I've been doing pretty good with both of those, the Matisse and the Coconuts by Matisse. I want to say that the average selling price is more around the $25 to $30 range. But since these were a little bit more unique and they were knee-high style, I was able to price them up just a little bit more. The next item is another pair of boots, this time on eBay, and it was these Born Distressed dark gray casual comfort ankle booties. They sold for $47. Earnings was $32.12, and they were only listed for 8 days. For some reason, these boots kept popping up all over the place around here. All the thrift stores I was going to had them, and at first I hesitated picking them up because they did look a bit worn out. But I picked them up and they went on to sell quickly. So as I continue to see them, I continue to pick them up, list them, and they continue to sell pretty good. And it turns out that these boots are meant to look this way, distressed and worn out, and people really love them. That happens sometimes with some of these boot brands. Fry has some of their boots that look like this as well. They're just worn out, scratched, and they look like they wouldn't be a good pickup, but that's how they're meant to look. So make sure if you see some boots that look high quality but have a little bit of distressing, go ahead and do your comps because they may still be a great seller. Next, we have another pair of boots. This time on Poshmark, there were these keen brown leather insulated tall winter waterproof outdoor boots. They sold for $50, which left me with earnings of $38.28. and they were listed for 15 days. If you don't know about Keen, I'll leave the logo right here. That's the logo you should look out for. They're a very reputable outdoor style type brand. During the winter, their winter and snow boots do really well. And for the summer, you can look out for their sandals and their hiking shoes in all sorts of departments, women's, men's, and kids. They're really great sellers. I love finding that brand. Next up, we have an eBay sale. This time, not boots. There are some Tory Burch espadrille wool tweed slip-on flat loafer shoes. They sold for $50 plus shipping. Earnings after all the fees was $41.20, and these shoes took a total of 33 days to sell. Since these shoes were more of that tweed material, they did have a lot of loose threads, but I felt confident enough to pick them up anyway because I knew that I could use a fabric shaver to make them look a little bit better. So I just took the fabric shaver and I just went over the shoe very slowly to try to get as many of those loose threads out as possible. They didn't end up looking in perfect condition, but I knew that they would still end up selling. Tory Burch is a great seller. It usually flips in a decent time frame and leaves me with a decent profit as well. Next up, some more boots. On Poshmark, we have these double H brown green leather oil resistant mid-calf western boots. They sold for $55. Earnings was $44, and these took a total of 5 days to sell. I actually took a pretty low offer on these boots. I initially had them listed for $89, probably expecting to get anywhere from $70 to even $65. but my sales were suffering the first 2 to 3 weeks of February. So when I received this offer, I knew that I'd still have a decent profit at the end of it, so I just had to take it. But when it comes to the boot brand Double H, I feel like I've only sold it a few times, 2 or 3 times. But so far my experience with it has been okay. This next brand though, I do find very often and pick it up quite a bit, as I showed in my last thrift haul. But I never had shoes sell for this high of an amount. It was on Poshmark, and it's these Vince Camuto taupe leather lace-up thigh-high boots. They sold for a total of $60. My earnings was $48, and they were listed for 38 days. Sometimes these bread and butter brands can really surprise you. Last month, I think it was, that we talked about some aerosol sandals that sold for over $50, which is very uncommon. And it happens with Clarks sometimes too. Most of their shoes, I will price them at about $32. But there have been times that I found some rare, unique styles that I can go on to price for $45 or $50. So sometimes it does pay off to do your research when you're pricing uncommon styles by some of these bread and butter brands. Okay, moving on to the highest price sale of the month. It was on Poshmark, and I bet it's no surprise to you that they are some Western boots. They are these Tony Lama brown tan leather embroidered square toe men's Western boots. They sold for $100. Earnings was $80, and they took a total of 15 days to sell. Tony Lama is another Western boot brand that I don't find too often, but I wish I did because they sell really good. I actually had these boots priced up at $140. But like I said, sales were really slow. So when someone liked these boots on a closet clear out day, I sent them a message and told them they'd get discounted shipping, and I was willing to drop the boots price to $100. She agreed. I dropped the price, and she ended up buying them, which thank God, because I needed that high price sale to keep my numbers up for that week. If you've never watched my closet clear out video, I will leave it linked right here. In that video, I go into detail on how I go about messaging buyers to let them know about that shipping discount and just give them a deal to encourage them to go ahead and purchase items. Moving on to some low price sales of the month. All of these items that I'm going to be discussing are things that I'm moving away from and just no longer looking forward to picking up in 2023. Starting off with an eBay sale. It was this Cato bell sleeve mandala and paisley print bohemian peplum plus size top. It sold for $16. Earnings was $14.77, and this top took 83 days to sell. When I was picking up a lot more clothing, this right here was my main focus. Plus size bohemian style tops. I wouldn't even go through the smaller sizes like extra small, smalls, mediums. I would just focus on those large, extra large, 2XL, and that's the type of items I would pick up. I would pay anywhere from $2 to $3. So this sale right here wouldn't be too bad in the past for me. But now that I'm starting to pay for help, I have to take that cost into consideration. I try to allocate at least $3 per piece for the help that I get. So with that in mind, for a top like this, my final profit would end up being like $8 or $9. So that is why moving forward, I want to focus on items that are going to leave me with $15 minimum in profit overall after the earnings and after the cost of goods, at least when possible. That's not always going to be the case, but that's what I'm shooting for. The next low price sale are these Cabby slim bootcut high-rise dark blue wash denim jeans. They sold for $15 on Poshmark. The earnings was $12, and these jeans were listed for 158 days. Some Cabby jeans can do well. I feel like these were not a great style, and the size was a lower size too, so that affected its sellability. But when you can find some boyfriend or straight leg jeans by Cabby in a larger size, those can flip pretty quickly and for more money than this. The next one, we have these torrid white faux fur house slippers. These sold for $15. Earnings was $10.28 and they were listed for 89 days. During the summer last year, I did go onto the Torrid website in their clearance section and I bought a few of these Christmas themed slippers. These were the last ones left, so I went ahead and lowered the price, sent out some offers to try to get them moving because I had no intention of keeping these till the end of the year. I'd rather get them moving now and get my investment back and the $5. And since they were Christmas themed, that most likely would have happened if I wasn't being proactive to get these things moving now. Next, we have some Chico's Brown mid-rise straight leg career trouser dress pants that sold on Poshmark for $14. My earnings was $11.20 and they were listed for 79 days. I've never really had that much luck selling Chico's dress pants. The only reason I picked these up is because I found them on Dollar Day at the thrift store. It was the blazer jacket and the pants set for $1. So essentially I only paid 50 cents for these pants. At the end of it all, was it really worth it even though they were that cheap? I really don't know. It just depends on how you look at it, because part of me says in the same amount of time that it took me to process and list these 50-cent pants, I could have processed and listed something I bought for $10, but that was going to leave me more like $30, $40, or $50 in profit. But then the other part of me says sometimes, you know, inventory is scarce at the thrift store. There's not much to choose from, so I have to make do with what's there. And I remember that being the case with these pants. I wasn't finding that much. I needed things to list, so that's why I went ahead and took the chance on these pants. So I guess sometimes it just depends. This isn't ideally what I'm looking for and what I want to be picking up, but if that's all there is at that moment, then maybe it is worth it. Next up on Poshmark, we have this Lane Bryant long sleeve blue chiffon button down business casual blouse. It sold for $12. My earnings after fees was $7.33, and this top took a total of 259 days to sell. Like I said earlier, this right here was my go-to category, plus size tops and blouses. But with this one here, I think I really did miss the mark. It wasn't bohemian in any way. It didn't have any print, embroidery, or nothing too special about this blouse, which is why I think it took so long to sell and ended up selling for very little. Next up, we have an eBay sale, and it was these 100% linen pull-on drawstring waist pants. These sold for $12. At the end of it all, my final earnings was $11.29, and these pants took a total of 161 days to sell. This right here was another of my bread and butter styles, plus size linen pants. When it came to the hot weather, this is what I looked for. These pants here though were not by a notable brand, which is why I didn't even put the brand in the title, but this is a good style to be on the lookout for. If you can find it, it's in some more notable brands. I recommend if you find them, do your comps because you can usually get them fairly cheap too. Next up on Poshmark, we have these triple twist Y2K textured gold plated flat circle hoop earrings. They sold on Poshmark for $11. Earnings was $8.05, and these earrings took a total of 191 days to sell. I'm still making progress with this jewelry lot. I have about 15 left out of the 50 that I had, so we are getting there. If nothing else, these jewelry pieces have been great bundle stuffers. Okay, let's get back to the good stuff. We're going to discuss some sales that sold really fast in this past month. First up, we have a sale on eBay, and it was this Michael Kors Jet Set Grayson signature satchel purse. It was patent leather with the monogram logo all over the bag. This purse sold for $48. My final earnings was $27.46, and it took a total of just 3 days to sell. I paid about $15 for this purse, so after it all, my final profit wasn't as great as it usually is with other MK purses, but this purse did have a little bit of damage. It had a couple cracks in the leather that I did not notice at the thrift store. I think it also had this crossbody strap that was missing, so all of that affected its sellability. I could not price it up as high as I would have had it not had that damage. It also sold via promoted listings and with a coupon, so all of that really cut into my final earnings and therefore my final profit. But if none of that damage was there, I would have gotten pretty good money for this purse, because these old school style mirror looking patent leather all over logo Michael Kors purses are some of the best performing ones. Next up on eBay again, we have these not rated tan cutout boho chic block heel peep toe ankle booties. They sold for a total of $24.50. It looks like the shipping label was fairly inexpensive and there was no promotions and no coupons with the sale, so my final earnings was $23.89. The days listed was again just 3 days. This is another thing that I was mentioning in my most recent thrift haul. This kind of style of shoe is a perfect transition shoe as we're moving from winter to spring, or even from summer to fall. Shoes that have some cutouts, a peep toe that look like an ankle but also more like a sandal. Those kind of things can do really well. I've been picking up a lot in this brand Not Rated, and also in other brands such as Tom's, Lucky Brand, Vince Camuto. Not all of them end up being high price sales, but a lot of them are decent profits and they sell in a quick time frame too, so I love looking out for that style of shoe around this season. The next fast selling item are these Ralph Lauren black leather knee-high riding boots. They sold for $35. My earnings after fees was $28, and they took a total of 2 days to sell. These are actually the only boots that are in this fast selling category, and I expect that to continue to happen more and more as we move into the hotter weather. The boots are going to slow down. They're going to be selling at a much slower pace than they were in these past few months. Now what's going to be selling a lot faster are the sandals, the outdoor sneakers, athletic sneakers. But if I run into some Ralph Lauren knee-high boots just like these at the thrift store and they're priced at a decent price, I will still pick them up, because I feel like the profit is good enough for me to potentially sit on them till we get to fall and winter again. Next up, we have our first Mercari sale on the list. I'll get into it later, but I did start listing on Mercari again, and I ended up having this great sale because of it. It was these Skechers vintage shape up chunky rocker toning sneakers. They sold for $41. Earnings was $35.21, and these only took 1 day to sell. From what I've seen on Poshmark while doing my research, most modern Skechers don't really sell that well or for that much, but when it comes to vintage Skechers, especially some like these shape up ones, they tend to sell for this amount or higher sometimes, and I can always get them sold fairly quickly. Same with this next vintage style. It was on Poshmark, and it was these mud Mary Jane black broke detail block heel dress shoes. They sold for $40. My earnings was $30.28, and these also sold the same day they were listed. $40 for some old school mud shoes is really good. And the best part of this is that most of the time they aren't priced up at the store because they think they're not worth that much, so I can usually get them very cheap. The next one is also another Mercari sale, and it was these Dansko slip-on ballet Ballet flat comfort career shoes. They sold for $38. The earnings there was $32.60, and these sold within minutes of listing. I guess that little short break I took from Mercari worked out in my favor. I just really hope that it lasts. But when it comes to this brand Dansko, I don't pick it up that often. Every once in a while I will, but usually they price it up at the thrift stores. They know the brand and they value it a lot, but once in a while I will come across something that's decently priced, and so then I will pick it up. These were only $5 or so, and I do really good with minimalist type flats and other brands, so that's why I decided to pick these up, and I knew that they would be quick sellers. Just like these next ones, there were some other flats that sold same day, this time on Poshmark though, and these are by the brand called Fit Flop. There were gold leather slip-on comfort ballet shoes. They sold for $30. The earnings was $24, and as I said, sold same day. Fit Flop is a great selling brand. It usually flips for decent amounts. I'm really hoping to find a lot of it this summer in the sandal section, because unlike Dansko, this brand is not as well known, so they usually don't price it up. Now we're moving on to the opposite end of the spectrum. Some sales that took a very long time to sell, and just like the items on the low profit category, these are all items that I do not look forward to picking up again in the future. We have a good mix of dresses, sweaters, shoes, and even some jeans. The first ones is going to be on Poshmark. It was these Anthropologie Pilcro eye-catch printed skinny dress pants. They sold for $25. The final earnings there was $20, and these took a total of 264 days. I guess the final earnings is not as terrible, but if these pants would have sold in at least half the time, that would have been a little bit better. But in the 4-ish years that I've been reselling, I've never really had that much luck with printed or colored pants, so I usually leave those behind. But aside from that, just the overall look of these pants and the fit is an outdated style. Again, on Poshmark, we have these apple bottoms Y2K retro mid-rise dark wash embroidered studded denim jean. They sold for $16. My final earnings was $12.80, and these took a total of 273 days to sell. I had really good experience selling an apple bottoms fur coat, so when I saw these jeans, I thought they were unique enough and that they would end up selling decently. They were an okay size, they were embroidered, they had rhinestones, a lot of things going for it. I had all the right keywords in the title and in the description as well, and even all of that could not save these jeans. I lowered the price many times until finally someone sent me the $16 offer that I accepted with a quickness. On Poshmark, we have these Born of Concept fur-lined dark brown leather slip-on mule shoes. They sold for $18. Earnings is $14.40. The days listed was 388. This right here is a perfect example, a good contrast to show how brand is not everything. Here we have these Born shoes that are on the slowest moving category, and then we have the Born boots that are in the high price category. So it's a big difference right there. Brand is not everything. Just because something is a brand that you heard does really well doesn't mean that it's going to be true all across the board. So it's important to always look at style as well. These shoes had two bad things going for it. First of all, they were fur lined. Unless they are some boots, most furry shoes do not do well for me. They sit around for a very long time. And the second bad thing that it had going for it is that they were mules. I have had some high performing mules, but they were more classy looking and just an overall better style. These right here weren't. They were an outdated style, and mules overall in general is my slowest and lowest performing shoe category. Moving on eBay, we had this Talbot Slams wool blend fair isle cardigan multicolor button front knit sweater. It sold for $17. My earnings was $16.25, and this sweater took a total of 399 days. It might as well had been 400. When I picked up this sweater, I thought it had all all the great things going for it. Sure, it was a little bit bold and colorful, but it was wool blend, it was Fair Isle, it was a cardigan, which typically perform okay. But I guess I was so wrong with this one. I didn't expect it to sit for this long, but I'm so glad that it's gone now and I don't have to keep it until the cold weather comes around again. Next up on Poshmark, we have this Mountain Hardwear stretchy jersey knit midi purple dress. It sold for $16. My final earnings was $12.80, and this dress was listed for 405 days. I always assumed Mountain Hardwear was a great selling brand because I would see it on Poshmark on their party list, and maybe it is a good brand, but the styles that I've picked up so far have never performed that well. On eBay, we have these Adriano Goldschmied low-rise straight leg dark wash denim blue jeans. They sold for $20, which left me with earnings of $15.43, and these jeans took a total of 454 days to sell. The main selling point for me on these jeans was that they were new with tags, but even then they just sat around and sat around. I think mainly just because the style of it, it's not that trendy. They're a little bit more on the crop side. They were low rise, and from what I hear around the reselling community, this brand AG is not performing nearly as well as it used to. And then the slowest and worst sell of all is on Poshmark, and it was this Everlane short sleeve minimalist shift dress. It sold for $18, and the earnings I was left with was $14.40, and this dress took a total of 572 days to sell. The only drawback I see with this dress is that it was an extra small, but then again, I don't know a lot about Everlane. I don't find it too often. I think I've only found it maybe 2 or 3 times. It could also be that it's an outdated style and it's just very simple. It doesn't have any notable features, so maybe for all of those reasons it took this long to sell. I ended up selling it on a closet clear out day. I sent her a message that I could lower the price to $18, and she agreed, and I'm glad she did. If I ever come across this brand again, I'm going to be sure to do very good comps. Let's move on to the final sales numbers of the month. In total, I made $4,150 after platform fees, shipping costs, discounts. The total earnings was $2,966. In total, I paid $1,051 for everything that sold this month, so that left me with the final profit of $1,914. All of those numbers right there are last year numbers. Those are the kind of numbers I was making last year, so by now I should be doing a lot better than this. Breaking those sales by platform, on Poshmark I made a total of $2,613. On eBay it was a total of $1,372. This one right here really hurts my heart because last month I was almost at the $2,000 mark, that milestone that I'm trying to reach there, and then this month I didn't even hit $1,500. On Mercari I made a total of just $164. In my efforts to end the month in the best note possible, I did start listing on Mercari the last week of February. So far I've seen a little bit of some traction, so I do plan on continuing to list all my items there, and if I see that it is going well, I'll continue listing there, or at least until I find a new platform to add to my catalog. Right now I'm only listing on Poshmark and eBay, and I was planning on replacing Mercari with Depop or Facebook Marketplace, but after hearing many people's experience with those two platforms, I kind of am hesitating to get started there. But I also do know that everyone's experience is totally different. There are some people who would never list on Poshmark because they hate all the sharing and all of the selling tactics you have to do to get your sales there. Some people won't go near eBay, so I guess it just varies from seller to seller what kind of experience you will have. But as of now, I already know how Mercari works, and until I have some time to decide, and really get to know a platform before I list there, I'm going to stick to Mercari if it continues to work. If I list all of March on Mercari and sales still don't pick up, I'm just going to leave it alone for good this time. In total, I listed 132 items in the month of February. That makes it about 4 to 5 a day. That is way off where I'd like to be, which is at about 200 items a month, but that's kind of intentional. I wanted to see if I could make my stores work and continue having activity and sales with listing only 5 items a day. But now I see that that is not going to work. The total items that sold was 134. That makes it about 4 to 5 daily sales. The past few months, my total sales for the month were about 200. So that right there is a pretty steep decline. These next two numbers though did stay about average, about the same. The average selling price was $30.97, and the average cost of goods was $7.85. In this last section of the video, I'm going to discuss some of the reasons why I think my sales were slow this past month. Maybe you can learn from this, and if you're having slow sales yourself, you can at least pinpoint some possible reasons. Because as I hear Oprah say all the time, when you know better, you can do better. So it's always good to analyze where we went wrong so that we can improve it for next month. The first and most obvious reason why my sales dropped so much was because I listed a lot less on all of my platforms. I thought that I could maintain my stores with just 5 listings a day and doing some relists, some discounts, but I was totally wrong. I do feel that all of those things can help, the relisting, using coupons, sending out offers, closet clear outs, all of those things can help. But at the end of the day, there is nothing as good as listing brand new stuff in all of your stores. That is what's going to maintain the momentum and keep sales coming in. I've seen this time and time again. I sell as much as I list. This month, for example, I listed about 130 items and I sold about 130 items. In other past months, I was listing 200 and I sold about 200 items. Sometimes there will be a little bit of a lag if you're moving from listing a little bit to listing a lot, or if you're listing a whole lot and then you move on to listing a lot less. There will be a little bit of a lag, but eventually when things settle down, it always evens out to a 1-by-1 ratio. You sell as much as you list. The second reason my sales drop is because winter items are on the decline. December and January were my best months ever, and that is because I was selling a lot of winter coats, thigh-high boots, snow boots, those kind of items that have a higher average selling price. But now those things are starting to slow down a lot. Luckily, I did have a lot of spring and summer items in my closet listed already. So those are the kind of things that have been selling lately and that have kept my sales up at least somewhat. But if I want to increase my sales again, then I need to focus on listing a lot more of those kinds of things that are selling now, which are the sandals, the vacation stuff, and the colorful spring type items. But that is one of the things that was out of my control because the thrift stores around here had not made the switch yet completely. They still had a lot of the winter stuff out and just a tiny bit of spring and summer items. I don't know why it is, but for some reason the thrift stores do not operate like retail stores do. In retail stores like Target and the malls, I saw spring and summer items like in February, but the thrift stores wait till the very last minute. So it's been really rough lately trying to find new inventory, especially for me because I'm trying to focus only on shoes. But I am starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel because I went thrifting yesterday. Today's Monday. Yeah, yesterday, Sunday, I went thrifting and they started putting out a lot more spring and summer items now. And next Monday, they're going to have a 50% off sale and they're calling it their spring sale. So I'm really hoping to find some of those great summer and spring brands and load up on them so that I can get to listing those to get my sales back up in March. But hopefully I can make it till then, because tomorrow I will be 9 months pregnant. So this baby could really come at any time. So hopefully he waits till I go sourcing next Monday. If not, then I'm probably going to end up with another low sales month, which I'm totally okay with. I've accepted the fact that there's ups and downs in this business. I'm thinking that my good times are going to come in the second half of this year. As for the first half of this year, I'm just trying to maintain as much as possible. The first half is more about life and personal growth and changes, so that's what I'm dealing with right now. In the comments down below, let me know how your sales were in the month of February. Did you see a slowdown like I did in the beginning? Were your sales great, bad, or okay? Let's talk about it down in the comments below. Off to the side here, I will leave a playlist with many more of these income reselling reports. So if you want to watch more of those, go ahead and click that link there. And that's all for me today. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.